The 2015 Florida Economic Development Conference is hosted by the Florida Economic Development Council and presented by Florida Power & Light. And now, Jeff Pearsall.
As many of you may know, Florida is the 5th high-tech employment state in the country. And there's no better person to be speaking on the manufacturing career and competitive opportunities than our next speaker. I call her a good friend. She's one of those that over the course of 10 years in our partnership over in Brevard County, she's been someone that you can always rely on, and her leadership has led us through some tremendous times and acquisitions of some great companies to the area. She's an energized bunny. She's full of excitement and enthusiasm and is magnetic in her personality. Welcome to the stage, the CEO and President of the Economic Development Commission of the Florida Space Coast, Miss Lynda Weatherman.
Thank you. All right, I'm competing against fudge, I heard. That's okay. We're economic developers. We compete against a lot of stuff. It's a little dark in here. I'm going to try to go through these. And this is the green button. I'm sorry. Okay. Help me with this. All right. I'm going to be talking about a program that we're doing. It's a pilot program. And that means all of us in economic development understand it means we have no money when it's a pilot program. Let me start with this. If you listen to the conversations that we've had today, particularly with Chris Hart, one of the things that's come through a lot has to do with the role of workforce in economic development. And if you look at some of these right here, some of these quotes, and I know that we're curious creatures in economic development and we're always evolving and changing, and we have to, because that's evolving, our economy is changing and we have to respond with it. And if you don't, then you're going to be left behind, and so will your job. And I'm not being funny. I remember talking to Grace Swope about a year ago, and I sat next to him. We were having a coffee or something. I go, remember when this business used to be fun? So like anything else, it's always challenging us, and we have to be able to be one step ahead. If I don't think our boards understand just the degree of pressure, it's not just landing the companies, identifying them. It's a good EDC identifies a project and lands it. A great EDC identifies a problem and mitigates it. And the reason a lot of us are hesitant to do that, because once you identify a problem, you have ownership of it, and then you better solve it. The same way with the shuttle. I mean, we worked very hard to work on the shuttle. We identified, I think our community didn't even realized the degree of jobs were going to be lost. But once we started running around saying, let's get ready, if it had gone south, then we would have been identified with it. But that, we're good, we're strong, and we're capable, so we can certainly take those on. So under the auspices of mitigating problems, we're talking about economic development and workforce. Workforce development is the next wave of economic development. Let me read you something that I was reading this afternoon. It's from a study by IEDC talking about shifting workforce development into high gear, how economic developers lead workforce systems alignment. What does this mean for economic development? For economic developers, the national mismatch between jobs and workers translates into a business attraction, retention, and expansion issue. Now they're talking our language. Communities without a talented workforce cannot compete when the most important factor in company relocation or retention is human talent. This is a game changer for economic developers. Tools such as tax incentives and utility or land deals are no longer enough to entice businesses. I talked to 3 companies when I just attended the Paris Air Show. Unsolicited, every 3 of those companies said, some were international, one was an international French company, one was an American company, was another international company. They said, Lynda, everybody has incentives now. So it used to be a game changer, the incentive set us apart. So what it is, use an EDC can do this. Second of all, when I read stuff like this, I also get very annoyed. This also reminds me of the story of Will Rogers when he says, during the World War II, he said, I know how to get the Germans out of the North Atlantic. All you have to do is boil the ocean. Now you guys can work out the details. Okay, so this is like sort of telling us what we want, but they don't tell us how. So what I want to share with you today is I want to present a practical, realistic, industry-supported, tactical approach to, I think, is one small answer in the workforce challenge. And it's something that an EDO is unique to address. And I'll tell you, as a student of economic development, tactics beat strategy every time. So what can we do? Let's next. Basically, why an EDC? What was that one there? Why an EDC? I think that we're in a unique position. What does an EDC do? One of our challenges, we all know this, is we have all the responsibility and no authority, right? That's tough. We got to convince the airport to do this, and the city to do this, and EFI to give a little bit more in our cities. But we have absolutely no authority. So somehow we got to get through that. But if you think about the process of a site location and corporate relocation, what are we doing? We're basically managing the assets of a community for a particular outcome. So I think an EDO has that management expertise. And it requires, while we talk about we don't work in stovepipes and workforce and economic development, I guarantee you the reality is I'm worried about demand side, and our partners are worried about supply side. So an EDO, if you think about it, especially with our unique relationships, no other organization in this county, in this state, has such a strong, or you should have, and I believe you do, and if you don't, you have it stronger than you probably realize, relationship with your existing business. So only an EDO, with the management of assets that we have, can oversee the supply and demand. So what are we doing about it? This is the demand side. This is nothing new to you, okay? Keep in mind, some of this is what I'm presenting to the general public when I talk about our program. All this is not new to you. 32% of industry reported moderate to severe technical skills shortages. 50% of manufacturers cite attracting and retaining a quality workforce as a primary challenge. Demand is outplacing supply, number one. Number two, this reshoring thing, it is real. And manufacturing is so important to this country that the one company that's pursuing the reshoring issue is Walmart. And why is Walmart doing that? Because they realized when they pushed offshoring, because they had to have that resin bear with the clock in the stomach. I mean, if you ever walked through, you're like, why do we really need this stuff? But when they pushed out, they realized they gutted the middle class. So that organization now with their foundations and their focus group is looking. Reshoring is occurring. We're going through a renaissance in manufacturing, but we have lost a generation going into manufacturing. The good news is when I share some data with you, it's systemic with the country. Isn't that terrible? The good news is we're all deep stuff, okay? And we're the same thing. I didn't want it, my parents didn't want us to go into manufacturing, but it's different, and we're going to address that too. So let me skip through this, because I have 15 minutes, and there's a clock there like a launch site there. Have you seen that? Scared me to death. We're launching something? It is. Have you seen it? Walk up there. I feel like, okay. Again, stage is set for entry-level workers. Let me get into the heart of this. Ladies and gentlemen, this should scare every one of you, and I would ask that you go back and look at this graph with your community, because this is showing Brevard County. Remember, Brevard County has about almost maybe 70, 80% higher share of manufacturing than the average county. But look at that. From 45 up, look at that, almost 50% are going to retire in the next, 10, 15 years? Well, thank goodness we've got, look how little. Well, that's okay, because the state of Florida is going to help us come through. Okay? So the question is, ladies and gentlemen, what can an EDO take on? And again, we have to be very sober and practical in our approach. This is about STEM, okay? I'm talking about addressing a STEM issue, but we're not talking about 4-year degrees. We're not talking about 6 years engineering degrees. There's a lot of smart people involved in this. What can an EDO to work on this, what the Heritage Foundation calls the hidden STEM economy, the production side of STEM, and take care of that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect, again, everybody's facing this. All our $10 million for marketing and all the hard work you do every day in this job, this could stop it cold dead. And if we reverse it, it will change. Our goal, basically, I think if each one of us takes that approach, and I'll share this one approach. My approach is in like 3 to 5 years, put an ad in Wall Street Journal, 50 welders looking for jobs. And I'll beat you, every one of you in this room, if that happens. Okay, let's see if we can do this for the state. All right, it's 2 programs, CPT and image and attraction. It's quite simple. In fact, it's so simple. I've had people call me and they go, hey, what's going on? I'm hearing some really good things. And it's brilliance is the simplicity, which probably helps me a lot. Basically, what we're talking about is what can we do? Remember that graph. Every day you should wake up and say, what can we do about that graph? How can we address this? And I feel, from a lay perspective, I'm not a workforce person, okay? But I'm a tactician. And I talk to companies every day. And I feel strongly that what we've lacked in this country, in our community, is an understanding of what manufacturing offers. Okay? We know when you go to college, you're a start with a freshman, a sophomore, okay? We know that. But we don't know that. We know that a bright, young, capable person who gets out of high school says, I'm going to work at Best Buy because I see what Best Buy. I drive by it. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman because they see that. I think what they don't see, what I don't see, is this pathway. What do you mean? I don't work at Rockwell Collins and do this, bend these wires? What's that mean? Okay? So basically what I'm saying is that there's two paths, and this is the heart of the whole presentation, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. We need to show, the pathway, the understand and recognizable pathway of what you need to do to become a welder, quality control, CNC machinist. And I believe the answer to that is starting with one ubiquitous certification that you can take it online with a lab, we can assist a lab, that's 8 to 10 weeks, that gives that person a little bit of confidence in walking into a manufacturing job and probably staying there. And it also tells the manufacturer, if I have 10 people, there's 3 people that have that CPT certification, I think there's someone that maybe we can hire and keep. Now let's make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 500. Why can't we work to get people that are getting out of high school or even I've had people come up to me and say, I'm overseeing a battered women's shelter. This is perfect for them. And say, we just want to open the door for you to this future. And what's great and wonderful about it is this. I guarantee you start CPT in year 1, by year 4, you'll be making more money than any person, unless you have a 4-year degree that's in hard science. That's the fact of life. There are CNCs that can make 3 figures. So we need to be able to show them. I'll show you the schematic I developed with my staff, and it's still not getting it. So basically, it's promoting. So think of it as almost like an a triangle. If we could just work, instead of people namby-pamby, I think maybe I'll go work at Best Buy. If we can get, by talking to them, working with them, show them the way, there's a CPT, if you can push it down to high school or even better, to let them turn the light on of, manufacturing. And talk about what's going on. It's certified. It's recognized by a national association. And by the way, NAM organized this about 7 or 8 years ago because so it hasn't been that old. So they've said, because they realized that maybe we as a country need to have some kind of ubiquitous certification for the whole nation. So maybe somebody in Toledo would recognize the skill set and core competencies of somebody in New York. Our manufacturers, to make our jobs even tougher, our manufacturers didn't understand what a CPT was. But when we surveyed them, they identified the core competencies outlined in an entry-level worker that's in the CPT. I'll be honest with you, what was the word? I've been running around talking about this. You can imagine talking about it. Because I truly think it's in many ways a future. That's not the answer, but an answer. And I've had a little bit of, let's see, how can I say this? A little bit of snarkiness about the CPT. Like I'm making a big deal of this thing that's been around that maybe I just discovered. And this is my answer to those. Guess what? I understand what you're saying. The CPC isn't new. But the hamburger wasn't new to McDonald's either. So my point was, it's around. I understand it. But I really don't think it's been really marketed the way we can to address that graph. Remember that graph that I showed you? Harris Corporation uses it. The CPT, and this helps us because remember, the Harrises of the world like what we do, but it's the small, medium-sized manufacturers that have the biggest challenges. And what's an EDO do for existing industry? It's our job to bring to them resources and opportunities, correct? That's right. This is an opportunity. This is a schematic. It's not really exactly what I want, and if you find something, I've been looking on the internet all the time, I'm trying to show on one page a visual to say, look, you start with CPT. Now, if you want to start and be CPT and work on a line of production site all your life, wonderful. But if you want to move on, you can move on. We've actually found that people who didn't even support CPT, manufacturers who didn't even like the EDC, because we don't work with the existing industry, never heard of it, now are our greatest fans. You know why? Because they found it as a tool for their employees. They have a line work contract manufacturer. There's 3 or 4. You're really, really good workers, and I want to encourage you. So I'm going to send you on this. You know, how more encouraging when I send staff to professional development, it's a sign to them that you're worth my investment. That's how much I respect you. So we found a whole new market with existing companies that want to do something for their existing manufacturers, because a lot of these people came in without any basic training. We've gone on despite no money, and this costs money. This is about $1,200 a student, and we've gone it. We've had 3 classes, 72% graduation rate. Each graduation rate is going up each class. And 6 graduates have received promotion and pay raises. What we tell the manufacturers, look, we want you to be part of this. We're in there to help you. We're going to fight the good fight, but we want to see placement, payroll, promotion, and pay raises. We expect something of you too. And none of them had a problem with that because they need it. This is the MSSC CPT thingy. It's ran out of acronyms. I was actually too tired to say anything else. But basically, it shows you where they teach it. There's 4 modules, 4 different tests, safety, So that's it. If you want more information, I can show it to you. This is our certification production marketing piece. Again, we had to educate our manufacturers as much as trying to get students. Think about it. People that are unemployed, vets that are coming back, trying to get all those. Again, the whole idea is to really create this source. If you think, none of us realize that a CNC machine is not going to drop out of midair. You're not going to wake up one day having worked at maybe marketing or something thinking, I'm going to be a CNC machinist today. If you are, you're not going to pass. It's difficult. You've got to have training. It's like playing an instrument. Everybody had to start somewhere playing an instrument. So if we want a cello player, CNC machinist, a welder, they got to learn music theory, right? So that's all this is. And if we had 500 people learning music theory, I would dare say in 3 or 4 years, we're going to have some wonderful cello players, probably more per capita than most places. So that's my analogy. You can come up with a better one. Please share it with me. All right. Image and attraction campaign. This will run concurrent with this. The image and attraction campaign is this. We're going to take a playbook from the U.S. Army. Remember U.S. Army, early 1970s? Nobody wanted it. It was like the war was over. But guess what they did? Be all you can be. We're going to make an investment in you. It's good, it's noble, and you're going to come out skilled, strong, okay? They did that. They attracted people, and guess what happens now? They got people going, and their standards are a lot higher. You want to be? We're going to find out. And that's what's happening to manufacturing. Not only do we have not the numbers, the demand, supply is down, but the skill criteria is higher. This is not just, being somebody who could tug a wrench really hard. So why can't we do that with manufacturing? And here's my other analogy, and I'm not trying to be cheeky or silly, but it's true. 2 years ago, somebody heard me say this before, I was like watching, it was a Super Bowl was on, I don't know, I'm vacuuming, looking, and there was a commercial, and it was a truck, and a guy came out with the muscles and a little shirt on, and there's dust, and there was a flag, and he's doing hay or something, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a farmer. I'm a sucker for, I'm like, wait a minute. But you know what? Why can't we do that with manufacturing? It's true. I could be on a farm now, probably a lot happier with that man. No. Manufacturing, I'm telling you, this problem will be the end of our country if we don't get it. We can make it good and noble and strong. And by the way, you're going to probably make a lot more money than your parents did. Even they were white-collar workers. We need to take away the normal way version of what it is, showing that it's old manufacturing versus new. Go look at the commercial about, I think it's about the Chrysler, and it talks about Detroit and M&M's in it or something. When you're through, you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool stuff what we do in this country. Manufacturing could be a wonderful thing. Think of how much fun. I would love, if we had money to do this, how much fun you can do putting together a campaign. We're going to try to get volunteer people to show the image and attraction. It's a great thing to do. It's good money, and it's a great thing for our country, too. This is just one schematic trying to pull it all together, showing the pay, showing the pathway, showing what they do, that 72% pay above the average. There's health care and everything like that. So again, I will share with you that this is not an easy thing. It's a tactical thing. I would encourage you, each of you, to go and look at that slide for yourself. If you don't have access to the data, we could do it for you. I had a manufacturer look at that slide, went back, look at their age of their workforce, and say, oh my God, it's the exact same thing. So the question is, can you, in your EDO position, do something to attract more people and guide? This is where the strategy comes in, but it's very much tactics. And tactics, I mean driving a kid to a class or something like that, to really encourage people to go into manufacturing and then give them that stackable way so when they're through, they understand that's not the means to the end. And then at the end, if we could have more skills, then that will be, I think, the attraction of companies. Because pretty soon, all the incentives in the world, if you can't pay for that, the companies will be static. They can't move. They won't be able to move. Because you can give them all the money in the world, and we know the role of incentives, and they're very important, and we're finally a player in this country. But if they can't find the skills they need, and they're not going to find the skills where they are, they'll just stay where they are. And I've heard that from site location consultants. So thank you very much for letting me share that program with you.